I wasn't really expecting the tweet that inspired this video to resonate as much as it did. I kind of want to break it down a little bit more and start with an intro talking about why we are not as intentional with our shopping when it comes to secondhand purchases and how that relates to the fast fashion trend cycle, and then give some tips on how to shop mindfully, since that's really the issue here, whether you're doing that with new items or whether you're doing that with secondhand. And I want to talk about how to use Pinterest as a shopping tool rather than just an inspiration or mood board. There's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. First off, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. If you are new here, my name is Katie. I talk about sustainable fashion topics and industry analysis and tips. So if that sounds good to you, then hit the subscribe button and let's get into the video. So clearly a lot of people feel the same way when it comes to struggling with mindfully consuming secondhand fashion. And I think a really big reason for this is that a lot of people have maybe understood that fast fashion is hurting our environment and hurting our wallets and hurting our wardrobes, and they've switched over to secondhand fashion as a way to alleviate some of those problems, but they also haven't ditched the fast fashion mentality that causes us to consume those clothes in the first place.
But unethical consumption is unethical consumption regardless of what it is and where it came from. And so whilst moving away from new to secondhand is definitely a step in the right direction, if we're buying just as much stuff just as fast, it's still a problem.
And although I've got better at this, I definitely still struggle when it comes to wanting to shop trends. But I've also spoken about how I've been on a personal style journey recently, and that's really helped me to step away from depending on trends for my fashion choices and start paying attention to what I actually like. And I feel like if you don't take that step yourself, then you're never going to be happy with what you have in your wardrobe, and that's going to cause you to overconsume. So I definitely recommend watching that video first if you haven't, and then coming back to this one. But like I said in the tweet, even though I'm aware of personal style and I'm aware of the fast fashion mentality, I still struggle with overconsuming secondhand fashion. It's like something in my brain, which is present when I'm trying to shop for something new, switches off when I go into a thrift store or I'm on Depop browsing at the end of the day. And I think a lot of this is due to impulse shopping. When we see something on an online thrift store or we see it in real life in a charity store, my brain kind of automatically starts pushing me to buy it if I like it even a little bit, because I might not get the chance to get it again. It's this scarcity mindset coupled with the fact that because you're shopping secondhand fashion, your brain is telling you that it's a sustainable purchase and it doesn't matter that you're shopping it because it's already been made and you're helping the environment. That means that we're so much less likely to think about whether we actually need this product before we purchase it. And I do think I'm a lot more susceptible to this when I go shopping in real life versus online, because you tend to just see a lot more in real life. Like there's racks and racks of clothing, and I always go all the way around a charity store just out of habit. And I know I'm not alone in this feeling, especially with in real life stores. It's very hard to walk away from something.
I thrifted this, which again, I think this is a flop. It was one of those items that just looked good in relation to the things it was around, but I don't know.
It basically means that your barriers are down and you're more likely to just impulse buy that item because of all of these factors. Like I said, addressing your shopping addiction and your fast fashion addiction is kind of step one on a style journey. And there's a couple of ways I do this that I mentioned in the comments of my personal style video. I go through a whole process before I buy anything. I question whether I actually need the item. Like, is there a need for it in my wardrobe? I think about how many different ways I can style it using what I have in my wardrobe already. I also figure out how long I think I'll wear it or keep it in my wardrobe. And normally this step helps me cut back on buying into trends, which I am influenced to buy right now, but when I think about wearing in like 5 years, feels a bit more cringy. Obviously, if you fail this step, there's other alternatives to buying, like renting or borrowing it from someone you know. This next step, I think, is actually really important, but often overlooked when people talk about thought process like this. It's, do you like the item enough to care for it? With leather goods, with like wool jumpers, I have to ask myself, am I going to be happy hand washing this item for the rest of its days? Hence, I only have like 2 or 3 items in my wardrobe where I have this regular upkeep. I want to add in another thought, which is how much have I been thinking about the item? Has it just popped into my brain and therefore is it more of an impulse buy or something that I haven't actually thought out? Or has it been on my mind for months or weeks or years, and therefore do I definitely know that I'm interested in this item and it's likely to stand the test of time? I feel like that is the first step towards purchasing anything and why I wanted to include it. But let's get on to how to shop mindfully once you've decided you do want to shop an item. And that's where this last step in the comment comes in. I thought it might be useful to take you through the thought and decision process I'm currently going through to source a jumper for autumn. I have wanted a cable knit sweater for years now, but I've just been too lazy to find the perfect one. But this is changing this year. I'm determined to find my perfect jumper. Before I do that, I need to figure out what the perfect jumper is for me. Obviously, you can apply this to any item you're thinking of sourcing firsthand or secondhand, but it's just a really good way of understanding what you're looking for in a garment. The first step is going to Pinterest. Now, Pinterest is often written off as just a mood board or like curated inspo, but I think it can actually be used as a really intuitive shopping tool if you know how to use it. The first thing I do is go to the search bar and type in what I'm looking for plus street style. And sometimes I'll also add in the year at the end of the search just to make the results a bit more relevant, a bit less like 2012 Tumblr and a bit more like up to date. And because you're just getting ideas and concept right now, you don't have to narrow the search down too much. For example, even though I'm pretty sure I want a cream colored knit sweater, I'm not going to add in the color to my search because I don't want to narrow it down too much and miss out on ideas or outfit inspo just because of that one detail. At this point, you're kind of just looking for a general idea and vibe of what you like. Pay attention to the texture, the colors, the pattern of the garment, the materials, the cut, and the style. I think grabbing all of this inspo and putting it into a dedicated mood board or putting it into a separate document could just help you in the long run. One other Pinterest tip that I think is really useful that kind of sounds obvious but needs to be said is find an image you like and scroll down to see the recommended images. Because I saw someone talk about how if you get like 2 or 3 clicks away from that first image you like, then you're more likely to be shown something that's outside of your algorithm and probably give you wider inspo. Now, while you're doing this, while you're getting down images and inspiration that really resonate with you, also pay attention to what you don't like. And you need to analyze why, just as you need to analyze why you like something. So for example, you might see an image and something might just feel off for you. Maybe it's the collar of the jumper, or maybe it's the material used and the way it makes the fabric drape differently. Write down this analysis, and at the end of it, you should have a pretty good idea of what you like for your specific item you're looking for and what you don't like. So just going through a few of the items after I did half an hour's research for cable knit sweaters on Pinterest, I found that I really like having an oversized fit, especially with long sleeves that can be rolled up, but that I didn't like balloon sleeves that tighten at the end, or cropped length sweaters that end before the waist. I know that I do like round necklines with that little rolled up detail around them, but I'm not a fan of other necklines, like the ones that seem really stiff and stand up on their own. I think at this point, you need to step outside Pinterest briefly and figure out what drew you to the garment in the first place. Like, there's got to be a reason you wanted this item before you started scrolling Pinterest. So make sure that's part of your mood board and part of your analysis. For example, if you saw someone wearing it in real life, then try to remember what it was that drew you to that outfit in the street. Something to bear in mind while you're doing this step is to pay attention to how these items are described, because that will help you later on down the line when you're shopping. The next step is looking at the pins you've assembled and looking at how they've been styled. And if you find that you haven't got too many full outfit looks, then maybe you want to go back and do another Pinterest search, which is like cable knit sweater outfit and then a key term like 2024 or autumn. Another tip to bring in here from my personal style video is cutting the heads off models, because pretty privilege is a thing and we need to be focusing on the clothes themselves, not the person wearing them, to truly see why we like an outfit. Whilst you're looking at all the outfit pictures you've assembled and figuring out whether you like the styling or not and writing down exactly why, you also need to be asking yourself, can can you recreate that outfit with what's in your wardrobe now? Or would it depend on you buying something else to recreate it? And are you prepared to do that? At the end of this exercise, you should have another table that tells you how you like this item styled and how you don't, which is obviously really useful for when you have the item, but also being realistic about whether this item fits in your wardrobe currently or whether you're going to be disappointed when it arrives and you have nothing to wear with it. I think this is such an important step that's often left out of sequence. Like, people don't really think about how an item's going to fit in their wardrobe until they've got it and they're trying to put outfits together already, especially when it comes to secondhand purchases, which are often more spur of the moment. So doing this step now will save you from future heartbreak, trust me. Now at this point, I know exactly what I'm searching for in a cable knit sweater. It doesn't mean I know exactly where to shop it from, but I know that if I then go searching for one online or on a secondhand website, or I see one in real life, then I have this data to back up the purchase. I can literally see something hanging in a store, look at my table of likes and dislikes, and figure out whether it is the perfect item for me without being blinded by impulsivity or the scarcity mindset of charity stores. I want to do a part 2 to this next week, talking about what the next step is now you know exactly what you want. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you see that when it comes out. And I'd love to hear if you guys have a tip that I haven't mentioned, or you have a tip on making sure you're buying exactly what you want on secondhand websites for next week's video. But thank you guys so much for watching this one, and make sure to like it if you enjoyed, and I'll speak to you really, really soon. Have a lovely week. Bye.